Pow, 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 pow. There was a pow from Lillian's bedroom as well, the intern. I'm just going to double check that I have the right mic installed or selected and that you can hear this. If there's anybody in the chat, let me know if you can hear this. And then I'm just going to double check that I have the correct audio on. Yes, I do. Cool. Welcome to another POW status update. And this one will be for April because it's May 8th today. And if you've read my clickbaity title, 0 customer, but exciting news anyway, I was wrong. When I finally sat down today and actually looked at the numbers, I saw that we had gotten 2 new customers in April, but we also had 2 people leave. So that leaves us at like 0 growth, but not 0 new customers. So, and it's always good that I do these monthly updates, especially for me, because I'm like, wow, we actually did get some customers, this month as well. I just kind of, when things are happening, I do get the emails, but then sometimes it obviously doesn't register in some way, or I don't know why. I just forget these cool things have happened. So if you're in the chat, let me know where you're tuning in from. That would be super nice. It's always nice to hear who's here. I have some things to talk about today because, as I said in the title that turned out to be wrong, there are exciting things happening in the world of POW. So we're going to talk a little bit about how I went to this talk, I was in my couch because, it's COVID, but I listened to this talk by the marketing person in Plausible, or like half of Plausible, which is there are 2 people, a dev and a marketer. And I was listening to a talk by the marketer and how that like spurred some thoughts. I've gotten some help because I realized I need to kind of get other people involved to move the ball a little bit more for POW. And then we're going to talk about the focus also on open source. So let's get in there and talk about it. So first and foremost, if you're new, POW is the Privacy First Menstrual Cycle Journal that I have been making for the last, year and a half. We take privacy completely seriously. It's end-to-end encrypted, so nobody except you will get access to your data. And that shouldn't be a special thing, but it is, because most of the other apps that you can find sell or share your data with third parties, Facebook or ad brokers or others that might be interested. So that is kind of the main differentiator for POW at this moment. So back to that Plausible thing. So Plausible is similar to POW in that it is privacy focused. Of course, it's not end-to-end encrypted because like the data that it surfaces is not the part that is private, but it doesn't collect private data on visitors to your website if you decide to use Plausible. A competitor is Fathom. It's the one I use for POW. But I was listening then to the marketer of Plausible talking at an expert session that I got access to through the blogging for devs community that I highly recommend. It's a great group of people. And there was an expert session with the marketer of Plausible. And he was doing his session and he talked about how their focus was on privacy, open source, developers, and how they thought about marketing and how they thought about writing articles on the Plausible website that would get them search traffic, and how they also were focusing kind of at developers as their first customers. And that reminded me that I had all these thoughts about POW in the beginning, like that's the way I wanted to go with POW. And that like the main thing they also reminded me of is that they focus on open source. So I've always kept POW open source, but it isn't something that I really announced. So listening to that, I'm like, yes, I should double down on the privacy, on the open source in my marketing. It would be fun to like get my fellow developers as my first customers. Maybe they even want to contribute since it's open source. And I just got really inspired about him talking about how they do marketing. He is, of course, a marketer and I'm a developer. So that's one of the reasons I decided to get some writing help. So for POW, we're also going to do some of these articles that one might see at the Plausible website. We go down here. they have like a why plausible, open source, privacy focused, it's lightweight, it's simple metrics. Like I want to do something similar for POW, which I think will be very beneficial. And I want to like push that open source bit a little bit so that people can get involved, because I see a lot of people liking POW, they want to get involved. How can I get them involved? So I'm hoping that's going to help. So, by the summer, I really hope to have POW in a place where it's easy to contribute. So you might already do that. I forgot to put that up there. So if we go to GitHub, I've already then, in the month of April, I've made sure that we have a proper README with all the information. But there are some to-dos, and one of the important things to-dos is to make sure that it's possible to have demo data so that it will be even easier to get started with running the project and like contributing without having to sign up for accounts with Userbase, which is a backend, and Stripe for the payment and stuff like that, but giving people a way to run and start contributing to the project without having to set up all of this infrastructure. So that's going to be super exciting, and I hope to get that done by the summer. And on that note, I have gotten like one of my heroes in the JavaScript space to come on board for May and do some work on POW. So that is Sarah Vieira, and she has written the opinionated guide to React that I did a study group on with some other people. I was invited into a study group where we studied this book. So it's super exciting that she is actually on board to do some work, and she's already gotten everything set up, and she will be working on the onboarding flow for POW while I am working on kind of getting the backend layer a little bit better and getting that like demo version set up. And it's just so much fun to have somebody else like in there, like digging through the code base. I get a lot more motivated to doing kind of my work. Let's see if we can find her website too. I am Sarah. So that's her website. So I'm very excited about that. So I gotten help on the dev side from Sarah, and it's always nice to have somebody else's eyes on there to see like where are the pain points to getting started, so I can fix those, so I can focus then again on that open source that I mentioned. And I've also gotten help from a writer that will help me with these articles for the POW website, but also for the POW newsletter that is launching in June, which will be a monthly newsletter about privacy, menstrual health, and the development in POW, so people can keep up with what we're doing with POW and also get some kind of get a little bit of educational content around privacy and menstrual health, which I think are like, content that is fitting for POW. So hoping to get some people to sign up for that, and hope to get kind of like a content marketing machine going, and then I can go in and do things like we did in March, where we had like a lot of fun around POW's first birthday, and we ended up having 8 people sign up that month, like one of our best months. I can go in and do those maybe once a quarter to kind of like boost it, but then continuously getting this newsletter and these articles made so that people will find POW through search engines, but also easier if they get it recommended to get an overview of what POW is. And if they're not sure, they can sign up for the newsletter, and then we will like gently educate them along the way. And then maybe when time is right, they will then sign up for POW. Or if they're like a really, a hacker dev, they can set up their own version of POW on their own servers and start tweaking it to their own delight. So I think that's going to be kind of a good way for me to be motivated with working on POW for the next couple months. And as I've said before in these updates, is I have like a long-term plan for POW. Like I want to work on this for at least the next 10 years. So I'm just doing this slowly and steadily. And I see now that I kind of got stuck. I got a little bit stuck, both in like the marketing and the coding. Like I was like getting myself into these, or painting myself into these corners, and I needed somebody else's eyes on it to kind of get out of that corner, I guess. Not so good with my metaphors. But so, getting Sarah there on the dev help, super helpful. And then getting Ingvild, which is her name, on the content help, again, super helpful. She is very excited about things like open source because she needs to learn about that. So she's researching it to be able to write an article that then will explain that, both for developers, but also for people who might not be familiar with what open source is when they land on the POW website. So, and also she's gotten like really into how to explain the cycle. And I have this crazy idea, which, obviously it comes from Ola, my partner, who is the more kind of creative amongst us. But we were talking about how to explain the menstrual cycle to him or to like others who don't experience it. But also then I was like, well, it would be beneficial for me as well. And it could be a fun marketing stunt. So at some point this year, I want to create like a comic book, like epic saga thing that explains the cycle, where the hormones are like coming in and they're battling each other. They're like battling for the being able to rule over the womb, and they will have like different characters so that it's going to be easier to talk about. Because I've read about the menstrual cycle now, because of POW again and again, and I never remember what is the lunar cycle and the follicular phase and the other phase. Like, it never really registers. But if we can like get some cool like characters to represent the different hormones and the different phases, then it will be a lot easier for it to stick, I hope. And I think it could also be like a fun like content piece that will stand on its own, but that could also be something that people end up sharing and then getting people back to POW as the source. So we'll see how that goes. But for that, I will like maybe need like a comic book artist, something like that. So as you might be seeing, like, I have decided to spend a little bit more money on POW, even though we have around 50 customers. We are getting, a little bit of revenue, but not a lot. But I have decided that instead of just like doing everything myself, I will do some more contracting work like I've always been doing, but then funnel a lot more of that back into POW to kind of get it up to the next level that I've realized maybe I can't do it on my own, and I would rather focus on coding and those things that I'm really good at, and then get some help, especially on the content side. So we'll see where that takes us. Like in a couple of months, we'll see how much money I've spent and see how that has actually helped POW. Or if it hasn't helped POW at all, then it's a failed experiment, right? But I want to try. I want to try to just like get some more energy in there. So let me know in the comments if you're seeing this in the replay, if that sounds, sane to you or not. Yeah, I think that is actually the stuff I was going to talk about. I really enjoy being a part of some of these communities that I'm a part of. It helps to hear things that I kind of know, and it's advice I would give other people, but then like getting it back, like hearing it back from somebody else who has your best interest in mind often, and just hearing some of the same advice again and again. It's like, yes, now it's registering. And having that talk with the Marco, I think his name is, from Plausible, just like clicked a lot of the things and marketing ideas that I've had. But as a marketer or as a non-marketer, I mean, it's sometimes hard to kind of like stay consistent with those or like believe in that way of marketing when other people are doing it in a lot other ways. But then like having him summarize a lot of the ideas that I had at the beginning of POW kind of like got my energy back on track for the marketing. So like focusing on open source, focusing on the privacy, making sure we have educational content around those things, and also maybe just focusing on my fellow developers as my first customers, because I know how to talk to them and I know where I can find them, and then it can kind of spread from there. And I also think that fellow developers might be the customer that is actually mostly concerned about the privacy at the moment, but then it will spread to the larger population is getting concerned about privacy, I think, if that makes sense. I'm just like, these status updates are a lot for me to kind of focus my thoughts and I need to say these things out loud in this kind of live setting to, get the juices going. But so what I was saying is like, I really enjoy being part of these communities. So especially blogging for devs has been really good for me these last couple of months. And also just having regular phone calls, or not phone calls, video calls with a select few people every week or every other week has also been really helpful in staying or getting that focus on POW and like moving forward and keeping the energy up. So that is couple of tips there for me if you're doing something similar. And to summarize, because I don't think I said that in the beginning, we still have 54 customers. That's above 50. And oh yeah, on the dev side, completely forgot. I managed to migrate all of my old users over to the new payment flow. I will also be setting up user lists, which is like a better emailing system for software as a service products like POW in May. And then I will be able to start emailing everyone who kind of signed up but never got from sign up all the way to payment. So I can like email them and be like, hey, I think you have forgotten about Power. What was wrong? Or did you have any problems? And start having those conversations with the people that didn't get all the way through the payment. And also, as I've said in every video, I think talking more to the users I already have, because I have lots of customers, I would say over 50 people, and I need to talk to them about what is it that they're liking and what, so I don't like mess up the stuff that they like, and also what is important for them now to take POW to the next level. So in May, I will do some of that groundwork for that. And then in June, I guess, with the help of my new content person, we will start sending out emails to all the customers and all the kind of failed signups to get a little bit more feedback on how we're doing, really. Yeah, but it's so scary. I kind of like secretly somehow have decided that everybody hates POW and they just forgotten to cancel. And I know that's not true, but I'm like at that stage and I just need to like break the silence and start talking to the customers again. And I will get over it. I know, because I've done it before. It like goes in cycles. So if you're that kind of person, know that it happens to me too. But that's all for this very rambly version of a POW status update. I hope you got something out of that. If you would like to follow along on POW's journey or just my journey, there is a newsletter you may sign up for in the description below. And if you leave a comment and just like and subscribe and all of those things, that is very helpful. And it does actually, energize me to see people engaging. I guess that's all for today. Let's do the POW outro. POW, 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 POW.